Angels, like the wind, they are powerful, yet gentle. Invisible, but their presence is undeniable. Our world is fascinated by the stories of these messengers of God. But why are we so drawn to them? Angels have never been recorded on tape or captured on film, and no scientific proof can support their existence. Still, Gallup polls show that 85% of all people believe angels are heavenly messengers sent to watch over us. This belief in angels, of course, didn't begin today or in this generation. A belief in angels has been around for thousands of years. In Psalm 91, we read, "For he will command his angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways." In the following program, you will witness true stories of angelic messages, supernatural rescues, and miraculous healing, often sent when all hope for life is gone. Joan Wester Anderson is an author and journalist whose best-selling book, Where Angels Walk, chronicles many contemporary angel encounters.
In 1992, I had written a book called Where Angels Walk, which turned out to be a bestseller. It was on the New York Times list for over a year. This was very startling and shocking to me because I had never expected angels to be so big. It was the first book I had done on this subject, and I was afraid that my credentials, so hard-won in journalism, would be compromised by people rolling their eyes and saying, "Oh, please." But it was just the opposite, because I received such a flood of mail that new material opened up. And that was how that all started.
Here is a story from Philadelphia of a mother's heartfelt prayer in a time of desperate need and the appearance of a mysterious visitor.
When Nancy Klaus and Mike McGivern announced to Nancy's father that they planned to marry at once, Nancy suddenly found herself without a home. Nancy's father, Thomas, disowned his daughter, and the pair married that same day and moved from rural Pennsylvania to the big city of Philadelphia. In the years that followed for Mike and Nancy, they longed to have a child to love as their own, but it was not until they were both in their late 30s that Mike and Nancy had the great fortune to have a bright, happy little boy they named Thomas, for the grandfather he would never know.
Oh, thanks. Father Tamayo.
Oh, hello, Nancy.
Hello.
And hey there, Tommy. How are you today?
Fine.
We missed Tommy yesterday for his first confession.
Yeah, well, we wanted Tommy to have his first communion with all the other kids, but he hasn't been feeling too well lately.
Oh? What's wrong?
Well, it looks like the first symptoms of chicken pox, but I hope you've had them already, Father.
Yes, I have. Long time ago.
Well, we didn't want to bring him in on Good Friday with all the other kids, so I figured I'd bring him in on Saturday. I hope that's okay.
Sure.
Okay.
You ready?
Ready?
Attaboy.
Okay.
Come with me.
It's okay, sweetie. I'll be right here, okay? Okay.
Come on. And why don't you hop up on the chair? Good boy. And I want you to do me a favor. Never lie to your mother, okay?
Okay.
And one more very important thing. Clean up your room.
Okay. Can I go now?
Yes, you can go.
Hey, that wasn't so bad, was it?
He was a very good boy.
Oh, good.
Oh, I see you finished my puzzle.
Oh, I'm sorry, Father. I guess I got a little carried away.
Don't worry about it. I'm terrible at those things. My sister has a whole bunch in the closet you could finish if you want to.
Oh, well, that doesn't sound good. I guess we better get home.
No, it doesn't.
Well, thank you very much, Father. We'll see
you're
you tomorrow.
welcome. Goodbye, Tommy.
Yeah, let me see that. Eesh, you're really burning up.
Hey, guys.
Hi. Hi.
How you feeling?
Well, his fever's not going away. I guess we should take him back to the doctor.
Well,
Thank you for waiting. We've been running some tests, and we wanted to be sure before we spoke with you.
Sure about what?
Mike, Nancy, this is Dr. Richardson. He's new with Philadelphia General, and we're very pleased to have him on board.
How do you do?
Hello.
Dr. Richardson is the world's leading authority on Reye's syndrome. Have you heard of this disease?
Well, yes, but I really don't know much about it.
It's a condition that attacks the heart, liver, and brain all at once.
And Tommy has this.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
When the condition is as advanced as it is with your son, I'm afraid there's very little we can do. It's often fatal. Every facility this hospital has to offer will be at your son's disposal, and I want to personally assure you that I will do everything I can. But listen, I don't want to give you false hope. There's maybe 1 in 1,000 chance that he'll survive. Even then, it's unlikely he'll live a normal life.
Don't you even have some experimental things you could try, some tests or something? You're just gonna let him sit up there and suffer?
I'm sorry.
Mind if I come in?
No, not at all, Father.
Hi, Mike. Nice to see you. How are you holding up?
Okay, I guess. They say there's nothing they can do.
I know. I know. Mrs. Shackelford down at the church told me the whole thing. I brought you something.
You did.
I'm sure the food in this hospital is terrific, but just in case it's not, here's dinner.
Thanks.
Mike. Thanks. And I thought this might help ease your mind a little.
That reminds me of my dad's farm. Thank you. We appreciate your thoughts, Father.
I've been fighting this disease for over 10 years now. I want you to know that my staff and I have been working with Tommy around the clock. We're doing everything we can for your boy.
How is he?
Not good. His condition is dramatically worse. It's critical. We could lose him in days, even hours. I can't tell you how sorry I am. This is the worst part of my work. Look, I know you two haven't been getting any sleep. Why don't you go home and get some rest?
I'm not leaving him, no matter what happens.
Another night passed with little change in Tommy's condition. Nancy and Mike decided to stay with Tommy in shifts, so Nancy spent the night alone with her son.
Who are you?
All of the medical monitors attached to Tommy McGivern had indicated a drastic change in his condition.
What are you doing here?
This is odd. Oh, I can't figure out why the alarms went off. I mean, the monitors indicate that he's been through a major change, but I can't see any discernible difference in his condition. I want you to run me some fresh diagnostics and get me the cardiac monitor tape for the last 5 minutes.
The boy was clearly trying to lead Nancy somewhere, but she was reluctant to leave her son, especially at the bidding of this strange child.
Doctor! I think that little boy was playing with the monitors and set them off.
What little boy?
That...
Dr. Richardson.
So how you doing?
Well, it's been almost a week. I just wish there was something we could do.
Tell me what you say when you pray.
The words aren't important. You just say what's in your heart.
I've had many people say to me, well, isn't it a little superstitious to expect your angel to just come and get you out of these scrapes? And, you know, Scripture says you don't have because you don't ask. The act of asking puts us in the right relationship with God. You know, once again, that parent-child thing. We are asking, would you take care of this for me?
Then, as suddenly as he had disappeared, the young boy in the strange cap was back again. And this time Nancy felt compelled to follow him.
Dr. Nyman, call 2440, please. Dr. Nyman, 2440.
Please report to room 212 immediately.
Nancy quickly returned to her son's bedside. The doctor could offer no hope, and the instruments monitoring Tommy's condition indicated he would not be with them much longer.
Come here, honey. Come here. Hi. Oh, are you feeling better? Yeah?
This is the most incredible recovery I've ever seen. It's as if he never had the disease in the first place.
Well, Tommy, We thought for a while there we'd lost you.
I didn't go far. I was playing with my new friend Johnny.
Son, you've been here in the hospital. You've been really sick.
No, look, that's where I was all this time. And Johnny was there too.
Well, I'm glad somebody's been having a good time.
But it's true, he took me there.
Tommy's miraculous recovery was, for the moment, simply to be enjoyed. But something kept nagging at Nancy. The boy in the strange cap. From the very edge of death, young Tommy was brought back to the promise of a long and happy life. Could that young boy, with his smiling, angelic face, have been the reason? Could Tommy's newfound friend actually have been an angel sent to save Tommy's life?
What I have learned is that children don't seem to have the barriers that we do as far as spirituality is concerned. Now, we might have always known this in theory, but I'm starting to see it in practice. It seems to me that children are born with a certain awareness of heaven.
Other angel stories speak of divine messages sent to those in need.
Often we will see or hear stories of people who have encountered an ordinary-looking person. In most cases, when you turn around to look at this person more closely, the person is gone.
Jamie Wolfe had only been married a few months when her husband was called to active duty during the Gulf War. Though both would have preferred it otherwise, circumstances were such that she was alone when her baby girl was born. The loneliness was made worse by the fact that her pregnancy and the birth had been complicated and difficult. The one bright spot was her beautiful new daughter.
I just wished her father could have been here today. Yeah, me too.
Jamie had married Jim Wolfe, a radio expert on active reserve in the United States Army. When his unit was called up, Jim had no choice but to leave. For several days after the baby was born, Jamie had tried to get through to Jim's unit, but to no avail.
Do you mind if I turn on the news? Oh, please. I mean, I'm sure you want to know what's going on. What with your husband being in Saudi Arabia and everything.
Jamie's hospital roommate, Melanie, was also recovering from a complicated pregnancy, so the two had come to be very good friends in a short time. Now Melanie shared every bit of Jamie's interest in the unfolding events in Saudi Arabia. Jamie knew the name of her husband's unit, and every chance they got, they watched the television news, hoping to see some sign of where Jamie's husband might be. Occasionally, Melanie's mother and father would stop by to see their daughter. These were difficult moments for Jamie. To her, the warm glow of a happy and complete family was just another reminder of how alone she really was.
There is a report just in from Riyadh. According to the INS news service, a missile believed to be one of the Iraqi Scuds just moments ago made a direct hit on a warehouse near Riyadh. The warehouse was being used as barracks for an Army communications unit, the 253rd Signal Battalion, a reserve unit that has only been...
The news broadcast filled Jamie with fear. The 253rd was Jim Wolfe's unit.
Army officials are saying there were no survivors. If the report is true...
She didn't sleep much. The baby's
Repeated
fine.
attempts to reach Jamie's husband had only produced grim reports that his entire unit had been destroyed. Still, everyone working in the maternity ward closely followed the news from the Persian Gulf. Shortly after midnight, a woman came into the room.
Oh. Hi. Are you looking for Jamie Wolfe?
Whoever this mysterious woman was, her deep love and affection for Jamie was immediately apparent. And Melanie could see that just her touch had an instant calming effect on her friend.
That's her little girl. She's beautiful, isn't she?
the woman turned her attention to Melanie. In that instant, Melanie became aware of a voice. Nothing out loud, but a voice nonetheless. And there was no mistaking the message. Despite the strange woman's total silence, Melanie completely understood.
Nurse Drake, there's a woman in here that I want you to meet who I swear was in here.
Just as suddenly as she had come, the mysterious woman disappeared. At that moment, Jamie woke up, refreshed and relaxed for the first time in several days.
Wow, did I sleep well? You had a visitor. What? I can't explain this. And I know it sounds crazy. She didn't say anything to me.
Melanie quickly relayed the message the woman had given her. Jamie's husband was alive and well, and on his way home. Jamie's condition quickly improved, and by the next day she was ready to return home with her daughter. She had found it difficult to believe what her friend told her about the strange visitor, but she was about to learn that that was only the beginning of this miraculous story.
I wasn't in the barracks when the Scud missile hit. I had gone out in the Jeep when this Arab woman came to me with a hand-drawn map.
After hearing of Jamie's mysterious visitor, Jim couldn't wait to explain exactly how he'd gotten separated from his unit. It was Jim's job to wrap up the communications gear after everyone else had gone and bring it to the new location. He and a companion had just loaded the last of the radio equipment and were getting ready to pull out, when suddenly a woman appeared out of nowhere and approached the vehicle. She told him she'd been sent to tell him his unit would be waiting at a new location. She gave him a map so he would be sure and find the right place. Ordinarily, he wouldn't even have spoken to a native woman, but there was something about her eyes. She had blue eyes. The map the woman gave him had placed him in a deserted part of the city. When the Scud missile struck the barracks and wiped out his entire unit, he was nowhere near their location. A young mother who needed her husband. A baby girl who needed her daddy. Needs somehow important enough that God provided protection and comfort through the work of an angel.
I don't know why God works miracles. I don't have an access to his marvelous mind. But I do know that he loves us all the same. And so he would not gift one person at the expense of someone else. Each of our lives has been known since the beginning of time. And there is no reason at all to feel that we are unworthy. We simply should ask and then allow him to work it out in his own way. No, miracles don't just happen to holy people, because if they did, they wouldn't be as widespread as they are today.
One of Hollywood's best-loved personalities believes he was visited by an angel to deliver a message which he claims changed his life.
Hi, friends. This is your friend, Mickey Rooney. I want to tell you about my miracle. It happened 20 years ago in Lake Tahoe. I was playing one of the rooms up there with Mac Davis, the singer, and having breakfast the next morning. And a busboy came to the table very quickly and leaned over to me, and I thought maybe he wanted me on the phone. And he said, "Jesus Christ loves you very much." I was in shock. None of the people at the tables actually saw him. I went up to the maitre d', and she said, "We have no such boy around." I couldn't find him. My miracle had happened. I had had a visitation by one of Jesus Christ's angels, a thrill that can't be duplicated.
Following this wondrous, unexplained visitation, Mickey Rooney, one of our most beloved stars, experienced a resurgence of his career, including his huge success in the Broadway production Sugar Babies. perhaps more importantly, it provided him with increased faith and the strength to face personal challenges that, at the time, threatened his very life.
So I imagine that people would think, what does a person who has just been given a miracle do now when I go back into my my office, and when I'm back in my family life, and when I'm deciding on what kind of a job I'm going to pursue? I've been given a miracle. Shouldn't that change me in some way? And I think it does. I think the hallmark of a miracle is the change that it brings with us.
There is a whole category of angel stories which deal with visitations from these divine messengers, often described as brilliant beings of light who come to warn about impending danger. In one story, we hear about a life-changing message sent to a family of travelers who were headed for a tragedy up ahead.
I came away from 22 years of service with nary a scratch. During all that time, I never experienced anything that would truly prepare me for this kind of miracle. We were stationed in Austria. When the troops were withdrawn, we returned to the States, picked up a new car, and headed west to my new station in California. It was a long trip. Traveling with 4 youngsters was tiring for everybody, but the station wagon was ideal because we could put all the seats down and back and dump the kids back there and just let them crawl around over each other. I wanted to make it through to the next town as soon as possible because it was hot, it was summertime, no air conditioning in the car, everybody was tired. Couldn't find a motel, but we decided to go on through where we drove into the hill country. In those days, the settlements out there were few and far between. We'd been driving for perhaps 8-9 hours that particular day. Most of the kids were shacked out in the back, dozing. My wife was in the front seat with me, and she was dozing. I was pushing the car as fast as I could because I was eager to get settled for the evening. I must have been doing probably 50 miles an hour. About 40 or 50 miles west of the city, I approached a hilltop at the top of which the highway curved around to the right. I couldn't see over the hill at all. Suddenly there was like a flash bulb going off in my head, and between my ears it was like a scream, and I knew instantly that I had to slam on the brakes.
What's wrong? Dad, what happened? What happened, Dad?
You guys okay? Stay here.
And I jumped out of the car. I looked over the front of the vehicle, and on the road in front of me, just a few feet away, was a small child, perhaps 18 months, 2 years of age. I knew then why I had to stop. I saw a lady running toward me. I handed the kid to her and said, "Is this yours?" And she said, "Yes." He just got away from me. My wife was staring at me with her eyes wide open and saying, "How did you know?" And to this day, I have no idea. If I hadn't stopped when I did, I would have killed that child. It's the closest thing to a miracle I've ever experienced.
Signs and wonders are being sent for a reason. God doesn't do things aimlessly. I think he wants to call our attention to the fact that we're not focusing on eternity. We're so stuck in the here and now. What's going to happen to me tomorrow? How am I going to control this situation? I have to be in charge. We're raised that way. You know, you are in charge of yourself. Now, responsibility is a virtue, but we're not in charge. God is in charge. So sometimes I think these signs and wonders are sent to remind us of that.
The main duties assigned to these heavenly hosts are to guide and protect God's creation, and their primary method is by delivering information. Our very word angel comes from the Greek word which literally means messenger. An important part of an angel's job description is to deliver messages from God. It's believed that angels may bring messages to people while they sleep, when their minds are more receptive. Mary's husband Joseph was warned by an angel through a dream that the evil King Herod was looking for the baby Jesus to kill him, and then was told through another dream when it was safe to return home. Here is a contemporary story of a man whose vivid dream warned about imminent danger to an entire family.
I'm a captain with the Chicago Fire Department, and anytime there's a holiday, I always make sure I turn in early. And this was Christmas Eve, and at 4 in the morning, which would be Christmas Day, I had the oddest dream. I dreamed that I was in a house fire, and I saved 3 people. I went into the building and rescued 3 different people at different locations.
Ed's dream was very clear and specific. He was going through a smoke-filled house and found 3 people, a young woman and 2 young boys who had been overcome by smoke. He got all 3 of them to safety, but then the fire chief came to him and said, "You did a good job, Cushing, but 2 of them are going to die." But Ed told him he was wrong. Ed Cushing woke up with a start. It had all seemed so real. Was it just a dream? Or had he been given a glimpse of the future? The very next day, Ed was on duty when there was an alarm not very far from the firehouse. When they arrived at the fire, something about it was already familiar to Ed. But he didn't have time to think about that. Thick smoke was pouring from the house, and he knew he had to get inside quickly. Once he entered the smoke-filled corridor, he realized everything was just the way it had been in his dream. Within moments, he had spotted the body of a young woman. And as he began to carry her outside, he saw another body, just like in his dream. He realized he'd have to get back quickly if he expected to save him. Rushing outside with the young woman, Ed immediately checked her vital signs. He could detect no pulse, and her pupils were dilated. But there was no time to work on her now, not if he hoped to save the other person he knew was still inside. This victim turned out to be a boy about 9 years old. There were still some signs of respiration if he could just get him out into the fresh air. Ed handed the boy to another fireman as soon as he was safely outside and rushed back to the young woman. He immediately began CPR, but there was no response to his effort. At that moment, the fire chief arrived on the scene. Ed was working frantically to bring some life back to the woman's face, but there was nothing, not even the flicker of an eye.
What's the situation here? I got 3 men inside. Fire's almost under control. How long has she been down? I don't know, over 6 minutes.
Normally, after 6 minutes without breathing or a pulse, a person is declared clinically dead. But for some reason, Ed insisted she still had a chance.
Please, God, bring her back. Give her one more chance.
Miraculously, the young woman's heart began to beat again. He could feel it under his hands. Then he remembered. In his dream, he had seen 3 people lying on the grass. Could that mean there was still someone left inside the house? The fire was out. All that was left was the killing smoke. None of the other men had seen anyone else inside, but Ed was certain that there was somebody else there, maybe upstairs on the 2nd floor. Making his way through the still, dense smoke, he hurried up to the 2nd floor, and there he was. A small boy, barely 5 years old. Quickly, Ed checked his vital signs, gathered him up in his arms, and rushed outside into the clean, life-giving air. By the time Ed got the last victim out of the house, the paramedics had arrived and were working feverishly on the others. This was exactly what had happened in Ed Cushing's dream. The smoke, the 3 victims, and as he sat there, somehow he knew all 3 of them would be just fine.
Then 2 years later, a woman was calling the firehouse, and she asked if I'd remember. And she says, I'm the one that you saved my life, my son, and my nephew. And she said she was getting married and asked if I'd give her away in marriage. And she told me, and her father agreed, that because I gave her back her life, she wanted me to give her away in marriage. So it was quite a thrill to do that.
Ed Cushing's strange dream had foreshadowed a near tragedy, and his courageous response gave 3 young people a second chance for happiness and long life. If Ed's dream was indeed a message sent by God, then doesn't it also send a message to all of us?
Life is a constant play between shadow and sunlight, and we're in and we're out. And when we are walking in darkness by faith, that is the very time that we most need to hear a good story, a good true story from someone who has said, look, this is what God has done for me. Far from it bringing up feelings of jealousy or inadequacy, it's affirming and life-giving. So I'm forever saying to people, have you had a miracle today? Just a little miracle? Tell somebody about it. Just tell somebody at the dinner table. Tell somebody in your office. And then ask them for their story. And if we all do this, I think Earth will be a little more like heaven.
Our culture rarely allows for the idea of heaven and earth intersecting, and yet St. Paul referred to that great cloud of witnesses who in heaven stand ready to help and reassure us as we complete our earthly mission. In the following story, a woman pays close attention to an unexplainable midnight message, preventing a terrible accident. There are times when messages are sent as a wake-up call, with the warning of imminent danger, if we allow ourselves to heed the signs.
My daughter Shannon was 3 years old when her stepfather and I married. We moved into a small 2-bedroom house in Angleton and became a very close family in a very short time.
Shannon was, in fact, a big part of the reason Janet and David had gotten married. David had commented many times on how lucky he was to have 2 such fine young ladies to love. But something was going to happen on this particular night. Something that would change their lives forever.
One evening, I put Shannon to bed at her usual time, and shortly thereafter, David and I went to bed. I checked on her before we went to bed, and everything seemed fine. I hadn't been asleep very long when I felt a gentle tugging at my nightshirt. I turned over to see that David was sound asleep. The tugging became more intense, and all of a sudden I was out of the bed and I was being physically pushed from behind.
The presence that was guiding her seemed to know exactly where she was supposed to go. In just a moment, Janet found herself entering the door to Shannon's room. Nothing appeared to be amiss. Shannon seemed to be sleeping comfortably. Janet was puzzled, but another firm push persuaded her to take a second look. It took Janet only a moment to realize that the mini blind was now open, and the cord that had been an entertaining plaything for little Shannon had now become a deadly noose.
I discovered that she had the mini blind cord wrapped several times around her neck, and her breathing was impaired. I immediately unwrapped the cord from her neck, and she began to cry and breathe normally, so I knew that she was okay.
Janet had arrived just in time. Another few minutes, and the little girl would have strangled in her sleep.
She was crying, of course, obviously upset. I sat at the edge of the bed and held her and comforted her until she stopped crying and could go back to sleep. I, at that point, of course, went and got a pair of scissors, cut the mini blind cord where she couldn't play with it again during the night. When I knew she was okay, I sat at the edge of the bed, wondering what compelled me to be there and how I had gotten to her bedside.
Janet had decided not to mention the incident to anyone. After all, she wasn't quite sure what had happened. But Janet hadn't been the only one involved, and Shannon had a question of her own.
That lady in the room last night.
The next morning, she started asking me questions about the events of the night before. One of her questions was, "Who was that lady in the room with you last night?" I was startled for a moment, and I asked her, "What do you mean, what lady?" And she said, "The lady standing behind you." At that moment, I questioned her, who was the lady, or what did the lady look like? Did she look like your grandma's? Did she look like anyone you knew? And she said no, that she just knew that the lady was there to help us.
Janet had not seen anyone else anywhere in the house, but she had certainly felt a presence, the powerful, life-saving presence of an angel, who, they all agree, was there to help them.
Half the miracle is accepting what's happened to you into your life and accepting it as a miracle.
I always think about miracles as windows to heaven. Moments, maybe periods of time when you can look through and see eternity. And it's not even so much in the literal sense of vision as it is an awareness that the world beyond is really right here. It's as close to us, we can put a hand out and touch it. It's not something far away, up in the clouds, on another planet, in another lifetime. It's right here. But there's a veil between heaven and earth that has to be there because we're not in heaven yet. And there are times in our life when the veil lifts.
Some people believe that angels are available to help us here on earth, commissioned by prayers from those who love us. One man believes that God answered a call for help from a loved one who had already passed on to the other side.
Jobs were hard to come by, and Willie's dad had little choice but to go wherever he could find work. This meant moving constantly from one tenement to another. With each move, Willie's mother also had to find a job as quickly as possible, leaving Willie to spend a lot of time alone with his grandmother. But it was time he came to cherish. In spite of all the difficulties, Willie Hawkins was part of a close and loving family. To most grown-ups, one neighborhood might be just like any other, but to a 7-year-old, an undiscovered city block can be very frightening. But Willie's grandmother found a way to dispel his fears. Willie's grandmother had a special ring, and they pretended it had magic power. The ring, they imagined, would always point the way to a safe neighborhood.
Now, I'm gonna go to the market, and I'll pick you up on my way back.
I'm a little scared.
Oh, Willie, there's no need to be scared. I'll come back.
You promise?
I promise.
Of course, the real magic was in the faith and love and courage Willie learned from his grandmother. When Willie's grandmother died unexpectedly, the young boy was devastated, and for much of the time afterward, he was left alone. Willie had never before encountered so deep and permanent a loss. His world, it seemed, had come to an end. But as the years passed, Willie grew to understand the deeper meaning of their relationship. His grandmother had blessed him with courage and a deep and abiding faith in God. And in spite of great hardship and against all odds, these characteristics helped him get through high school and eventually through college. By and by, Willie Hawkins rose to the position of chief building inspector for the south quarter of the city. Now a full-grown man with a wife and family, Willie Hawkins was respected and admired by all who knew him. And one trait for which he was particularly well-liked was his devotion to his parents and to the grandmother he had lost so many years before. On this particular day, and to Willie's complete surprise, the first inspection was in the very same building where Willie had been living when his grandmother died. Just the sight of the old building brought back memories he thought were long lost in the mists of time. And Willie, normally very cautious in these old buildings, let his attention wander. It was a mistake that would put his very life in jeopardy. Willie simply wasn't prepared for the flood of emotion that welled up inside of him. For a moment, the apartment seemed to him to be exactly as it was when he had lived there with his parents and his grandmother. This illusion proved to be a cruel deception. In fact, the room was on the verge of total collapse. Suddenly, the image of Willie's childhood gave way to the terrible reality. The force of the impact instantly broke several of Willie's ribs, and one of the broken ribs had punctured a lung. Unable to move or cry out, Willie lay helpless, slowly dying in a part of town where no one would come to his aid. Time was running out on Willie Hawkins. Then, several blocks away, a police officer on routine patrol encountered a woman desperately calling for help.
Yes, please hurry.
Where to?
105th and Sturdivant.
I didn't think anybody still lived in that area.
Please hurry.
Officer Polcheski was surprised at the young woman's sense of urgency, but it seemed to be infectious. Almost without realizing it, he found himself rushing to the specified address.
Stay in the car. Jeez!
He's in there.
But you were just...
In the basement. Please.
Hey, friend, can you hear me?
Seeing that Willie's injuries were indeed very serious, Officer Polcheski instantly called for an ambulance.
Dispatch, this is 311.
Now the officer's biggest concern was time. He knew they would be lucky if an ambulance could get all the way across town in less than half an hour. He didn't know if Willie had that long. But against all odds, an ambulance was in the immediate area and arrived at the house on Sturdivant Street in just a matter of minutes. The trained emergency medical technicians quickly stabilized Willie's condition and rushed him to the hospital. Willie Hawkins would survive his accident after all. While Officer Polcheski made his report of the incident, something unusual caught his eye. He assumed the curious ring that he found on the passenger seat of the police cruiser must have been the property of the young woman who had saved Willie Hawkins' life. Only then did Polcheski realize that she had vanished, not long after showing him where to find Willie. A few days later, Officer Polcheski checked in on the man he had helped save. His curiosity about the strange nature of Willie's rescue had nagged at him night and day.
Well, this woman, she flagged me down. I thought it seemed a little strange, but when we got there, she told me to go inside, even told me you were in the basement.
That's impossible. First of all, when I went to that building, I was by myself, and no one knew I was in the basement.
Well, who knows? There's a lot of strange people in this town. I'm just glad you're all right. Oh, by the way, I found this on the car seat where she was sitting. It must have belonged to her.
Willie couldn't explain the ring. He hadn't seen the young woman, yet somehow he knew an angel had been sent to protect him in his hour of need.
And I really, truly believe I wouldn't be alive today without her. And there's no doubt in my mind about that.
We have all kinds of documentation about people who have had a little signal from someone who's gone on. Maybe a little vision, or just, again, a little window to heaven, a glimpse for just a minute of God saying to them, you can rest easy, I have your loved one. He's home safe with me. The angels are coming and as messengers. I believe they're always working with us, helping us, around us, protecting us, loving us. Sometimes those things flow from one event to another, and it's just as if you can see this image of the stone going into the pond and all of these ripples coming from it. It's as if one miracle just continues to spawn others.
There is a story that comes to us from the 19th century which indicates the presence of an angel sent to help a young pioneering family at a critical crossroads.
The determined pioneers who settled the vast green valleys and hills of America's heartland did so with one hand on the plow and the other reaching out to God. The need for faith in a kind and watchful providence was everywhere in evidence. But nowhere was that more apparent than when it came to having children. A doctor within a day's ride was a rarity, and a midwife close by was someone to be treasured. A complicated childbirth was always a matter of life and death. And for this young couple, alone on the wilderness frontier, the complications were severe.
Just a little while longer.
The hour was fast approaching when their baby would either be delivered or both mother and child were likely to die.
I know. I just...
Thomas, a poor but honest carpenter, and his wife Nancy had worked hard for years to prepare for their first child. This was to have been a moment both would cherish forever. Now, even though he tried to hide it, Thomas feared the worst. Not only were they on the verge of losing the child, he could lose his precious Nancy as well.
He's gone. The doctor is gone. There's a bad accident under Lexington. He won't be back for 2, maybe 3 days.
And what about the midwife, Jeb? Did you find her?
No, sir. She's back east visiting some relatives. What are we gonna do now, sir? There's just no one around to help.
It'll be all right, son. You've done all you could. You go on home. I'll take care of things. The doctor's not going to be able to come, Nancy. And the midwife is nowhere to be found. I guess we'll just have to come through this one alone. We've done that before. We're going to come through this okay. It'll be all right. All 3 of us.
Thomas? Promise me something.
Of course.
Promise you'll save our baby, no matter what happens to me.
Don't talk like that. You are not going to die.
You must go on, Thomas. You and our child. No matter what. Promise me, Thomas.
I will promise you only that I will never let you go. We've worked too hard. We've come through too much together to be separated now.
I love you, Thomas. Always remember that.
Our child will need both of us. I will have it no other way. Yes?
Hello, my name is Sarah. Sarah Parsons. I'm a midwife. It looks as though I've arrived just in time.
Yes.
Thomas knew everyone for miles around, but he'd never heard of Sarah Parsons. And yet the mysterious woman seemed to know exactly what had to be done. Something about Sarah's manner put them both instantly at ease. Even though she was a complete stranger, Nancy had no difficulty putting herself entirely in Sarah's hands.
Is there anything I can do to help?
You are a carpenter?
Yes, I am.
I'd start work on a crib.
A crib? Yes, I will.
Nancy's labor was intense, lasting for most of the night. But the hard work of mother and midwife paid off handsomely, with the birth of a healthy 10-pound baby boy. Sarah Parsons had performed a miracle. Nancy's life was preserved, and a new baby boy had come into the world. But as Thomas would soon discover, that was only the beginning.
Sarah, please, let us pay you for your services.
Oh, I have no need of money. But there is something you can do for me.
What can I do?
Make sure the child is named Abraham.
Abraham? Abraham.
Thomas couldn't just let this mysterious young woman simply walk off by herself. He made up his mind that he would at least walk Sarah part of the way back to town. But in the few seconds it took Thomas to reach the road, Sarah Parsons had somehow disappeared without a trace. Thomas and Nancy and the new baby rested comfortably that night. Little did they know the events of that day would reshape the world. Thomas and Nancy refused to give up hope when all seemed lost, and they brought into this world one of the greatest men the American nation has ever produced. They named him Abraham, just as their mysterious visitor had requested. Growing up on the frontier, the boy came to be known as Honest Abe. Against overwhelming odds, he became a lawyer. And in 1847, Nancy Lincoln's son, Abraham, was elected to Congress. 13 years later, in 1860, Abraham Lincoln became the President of the United States. No one had ever heard of Sarah Parsons, nor was she ever seen again. It would seem that one of God's ministering angels was there to save not only the tiny baby, but an anguished nation as well. Some say every life is a miracle, but the birth of Abraham Lincoln was apparently attended by more than just a midwife.
Of course, it's impossible to know all the facts about a story from a previous century, but whether a legend or a true story passed along, it fits with many contemporary stories of angels who are sent to help and then disappear without a trace.
See, you can't control a rush of tears and you can't control goosebumps. If you're getting them because you've been touched in a deep, deep place, they just come. And that's the way God is, and that's the way angels are. You can't control them, they just come. And so why wouldn't this be a signal to us, before our brains get in the way to rationalize this, that our hearts would just know that, gosh, I've been touched, God's here.
And perhaps it's up to each of us to decide whether those unexplainable events that once in a while happen to everyone might actually be the gentle touch of an angel with us.